Hello and welcome to a special episode of Georgie's Stripping the Dipping podcast. I'm your unusual co-host, F1 Blag, and today we've got a returning guest. So last season, season 1, episode 74, so the penultimate episode of last season, it was around this time of year. It was cold in the UK, but this guest was smugly dialing in from Florida. Since then, he's returned to the UK and scored 10 podiums in the GB4 series in the UK. UK's equivalent to Formula 4 for Fortec Motorsport. So without further ado, welcome back, the warm-weathered Colin Queen. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fantastic, Blag. Thank you guys so much for having me on again. It's a pleasure.
Well, tell us, what's the temperature where you're with us, just to annoy our listeners?
Well, unfortunately today it's a bit chilly and windy. I went for a walk on the beach this morning and I had to wear my sweater, so not the best, but it's much better than England, I'll tell you. Much better.
Yeah, you live a hard life, you know, that sort of Florida weather in November. It must be a hard life. So last time you were with us, Colin, you just won the shootout and were headed for a season of GB4, your debut season in that series with Fortec Motorsport, and you ended up fourth in the championship. And as I said, with 10 podiums. So, yeah, tell us about the last year. How's it been, and how did you find GB4?
It's been absolutely phenomenal. You know, the first year, Slicks and Wings, to get that under my belt is absolutely awesome. 10 podiums is definitely was some good successes. For this year, it could have been a bit better, to be honest, but it was stiff competition for sure, especially the top 4 or 5. But yeah, no, I've learned a substantial amount and improved so much as a driver and a person overall. And to work with a team like Fortec Motorsports is just incredible. Very mature team all around. Very proficient with what they do, and it's nothing more except for living the dream, racing in England.
Yeah, I mean, other weather is available. You were here during the summer, so I mean, yeah, I mean, congratulations. It's great to see your success, and I know how hard you work. We talked about it last time. I mean, one of the things you said last time, which I think I found funny at the time, is you said you were going to put some 2 or 3 kilos of muscle on ready for the season, and I think it was before Christmas. So I was hoping not to put on any sort of other weight. But how did you take to the car? It was your first season in Slicks and Wings. Was there anything else you didn't expect?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a challenge actually, to transition from Formula 4 to an F4 car. But I think after a couple of test days, it was all right. Definitely had to put on some muscle. I mean, obviously now with how hard I work out, it's totally easy. But now I have to prepare for that next step. So I lost all my fat and gained it all back with muscle, which is both a good and bad thing because I'm so light.
Well, best of luck with whatever diet and workout regime you're doing. I'd be intrigued to hear, stepping up from Formula 4 to GB4. Obviously, yeah, there's more downforce, I'd imagine. There's more mechanical grip, as you've described on the tires. How does that affect your approach? Like you're turning up at a corner pretty fast. How does the car differ from a Formula 4 car?
Yeah, so how that differs is it's very different. It's a completely different philosophy of driving that I've had to learn over the course of the year, just trying to perfect it. It's mainly just trying to keep the car very stable throughout the corner, whether that's high speed, low speed, or medium speed corners. Other than a Formula 4 where you just kind of flick it in and just not hoping it grips, but just trying to maximize the speed in a different way that suits the car's balance. and it's just very different. Much more, I would say, difficult to do, but you know, you do it enough test days, and you start to get the hang of it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I was watching your season. You're probably not aware of this because you're sort of in the cockpit, but it's all shown on YouTube, which I think is a great exposure for your series and for yourself. And of course, in the final weekend, which was probably about a month ago at time of recording, you scored a double second place, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, would you say that through the season you found yourself improving? Were the other drivers improving as well? How did you feel your sort of trajectory went over the season?
No, it's definitely been progressing every race weekend, and you can definitely see that with the other drivers, and especially my rivals such as Tom Mills and Cooper Webster and Liam McNeely. They put in some good work, and to just be fighting so close in times over whole race distance, and no one's making a mistake, or it all comes down to the starts really. Yeah, you can definitely see who really puts in the work and who doesn't, and I'm glad that I was definitely one of the ones that was extremely focused and just trying to maximize my performance. So yeah, I think without that I would be kind of left in the dust. So yeah, it's although it wasn't the biggest grid, obviously for an F4 field, the competition was quite stiff, and I have no doubt that most of these drivers up front will be going places.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of modestly said, the top 4 or 5 was really competitive. For those listening, if you check out the championship, I mean, if you're watching it through the season, it was fairly obvious. As far as I could see, there was basically a top 4, and you guys would almost consistently be the top 4 in one order or another, and that's borne out in the kind of final standings. So, I mean, you talk a bit about where you might be going next before we jump into that, because I'm going to leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger for our listeners. Um, just a reminder: if you're listening at home, do like, share, comment, or subscribe. Later in the episode, I'll give you some tips of other episodes to go and listen to. But the one I'm going to mention now is the most recent YouTube live we did was from Dens, and actually it was with Mario Andretti again, who came back and graced us with his presence. So if you're listening at home, do go on YouTube and check that out, and we'd love to hear from you. So jumping back in, Colin, you talked about sort of the front runners are going places. What are your aspirations for 2024? Do you have any plans yet, or is that something you're going to dangle in front of us and not quite announce?
I'll definitely give a hint. It's the announcement is on Thursday, so definitely stick forward to that. It's definitely exciting, with what I'm doing next year, and I'm very hopeful for the future, and so excited with where I'm going. So that's
Wow.
that's what I have to say about that.
You should write, like in TV shows, they're often just before the break, they do a cliffhanger. Like, I think our listeners are going to be, is it Colin Queen Racing.com? I think that's your website.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they're going to be looking at that website as soon as they listen to this, because this will come out after Thursday. They're going to go to colinqueenracing.com or look you up on Twitter. And then you went to. So future human beings, I'm jealous of you because you'll be able to find out immediately. We'll all wait and hear on Thursday, but you sound excited. So yeah, I can't wait to hear.
Awesome. Oh, it's great. Thank you,
Brilliant.
guys.
Well, look, on that, we have a little bit of a sort of short question which we ask our guests, which is, we're not asking you to tell us where you're going next year, but it's called the Hot Lap Challenge. So you can pick any car and any circuit that you would like to drive in your sort of wildest dreams. So how about that? Hot Lap Challenge, any car, any circuit. Which one do you pick, Colin?
That's an easy one. F3 Macau. that's top of my list at the moment. So
Okay, well, I won't be rushing out and buying my flights to Macau just yet, but who knows? On Thursday, I might have another reason to. So let's see. But yeah, what a classic race! I hope you get to realize that dream. I really do.
I hope so too. No, I watched the race last weekend or 2 weeks ago, and what an amazing venue! What an amazing race! They definitely put on a show. It's on the edge of your seats pretty much the whole time.
Yes, it's a really interesting one with that because obviously we love motorsport. You even more than me. You're sort of pursuing a career, but we know about Macau. But I think that Macau permeates kind of culture much more than I guess other Formula 3 level races. Would you put that down to the track? Is it that the cars are nimble enough to kind of compete on a circuit like that? What do you think it is about Macau that jumps out?
Yeah, I would definitely put it down to the track. Obviously, the FIF3 cars, and it's a beast of a car. It's you just look at it. It's just incredible of what speeds they can do with what they have. It's also it's a racer's dream. Well, at least a single seater driver's dream to race there, and just having the honor of competing there, and if you win, you go down in history, and it's like the Monaco or Indy 500 of F3 or the juniors category. So no, that is the race I want to do at
Wow,
the moment.
brilliant. Well, we'll delve in a little bit about where you want to go in the longer term later. But actually, I wanted to talk to you about something that we almost skipped over last time. And that was my accident. We talked a little bit about the partnership that you have with Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and you revealed that you were born with a congenital heart defect, if that's the right term, and
Yeah.
it seems like you're the only driver, at your level that has that and has achieved the success you have. Could you tell our listeners, do you think that that's made you more determined, and do you think it's important that people see role models such as yourself thriving and succeeding?
Yeah, well, I've always, I've been living with it my whole life, and at times I don't really see myself as different from other people. But if you do look at it, I believe I am sort of a role model, and I need to advertise myself in that way. And if I think being that much more determined to inspire kids or even just everyone as a whole, it's great. I think it's one thing that I want to do. I need to do as an ambassador, to give back. That's what I believe in.
Yeah, I mean, it's inspiring to hear, and I wish you every success in that. Do you find? I know your family sort of moved from West Coast to East Coast, but have you been back to the hospital regularly? Sort of obviously since childhood. Sort of, what's your relationship with that hospital now?
Yeah, so I go back for yearly checkups every November. So I went back to LA about 2.5 weeks ago for the checkup. So it's always great to go back and see all the people that I've known for years, and all the doctors. And yeah, no, every time I go back, it's something special for me. Uh, and I always wish to stay longer. Uh, but yeah, no, new life in Florida. So yeah, don't have the only don't have the luxury of going to LA every week or two, but that's all right. It's it's a special little thing.
If you're from the UK, we kind of look at Florida and California as sunny places. I think one of them's the Sunshine State and the other's the Golden State or something. So to us, you've traded one warm place for another. But it's lovely to hear your connection with that hospital, and I'm glad glad things are okay. In fact, because I'm known for my research, I went on to colinqueenracing.com and I saw that it's actually your birthday coming up soon, if I'm not mistaken, in the month of December.
Yeah.
Any big plans for that birthday? I think you're turning 19. Is that right?
Yes, I am. I don't have any plans actually as of yet, but no, I'm happy to turn 19 and start another new year, new journey. That'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I even mentioned it on the last episode. I kind of implied that you were quite young, but what you've achieved so far, and you're only 18, certainly it's extremely inspiring. Before I go to the next question, let me just point the listeners to a few episodes that they might enjoy. So from this season, I'd like to spotlight 4 episodes really quickly. So episode 28, we had virtual statman Sean Kelly on. And so I definitely encourage those of you that love Formula One to go and listen to that. Similarly, on episode 19, I think it was Dr. Obbs interviewed Jost Capito, the former leader at Williams before James Vowles took over. Episode 4, we had Aldous. So if you love your YouTube content or want tips on how to make it big in social media, have a look there. But the one that I'd mentioned, because I think there's a relevance here to Colin, Brian Herter, episode 5. Go and look that out. Season 2, episode 5. Fantastic episode with Brian reminiscing on the old days of kart, or Champ Car as it was, and obviously then his success as a team owner and on the pit wall. So I'd encourage you all to listen. Send us your suggestions for guests, and who knows, Georgie might let you come on the show and ask the guest if you are successful. So before sort of moving on, and I hinted at this earlier, your website says that you kind of have some dream of heading to IndyCar at some point. Is that the destination, or is that a bit of a silly question? Like you'll take IndyCar, you'll take F1, you'll take any sort of elite motorsport. Where's your dream to end up?
Well, I definitely take F1 over IndyCar, but IndyCar has always been a dream for me. It's been the dream for me, and just seeing all the kids over the years. As you mentioned, Brian Herta, right? When I was it kind of made me reminisce on my early kart days when I was in kid karts, and Colton was at the local track we always went to testing with Buddy Rice, and just doing laps and laps. We were the only 2 people there at times, and to see him now in IndyCar and how well he's done, I definitely want to follow in his footsteps. And that's always been my dream since I was a little kid.
IndyCar certainly had an interesting season in 2023. Maybe if last season you had 4 or 5 drivers going into the final race with a shot at winning the title, this season it was really clear from about the midpoint that Alex Palou had run away with it. Do you have do you have a chance to watch IndyCar when you're in the UK? It's on quite late. Did you keep up with the season this year?
I did, not to an amazing extent. I don't think I can tell you everything about the season, but it was fun to watch. I always watch the replays on NBC, and no, it's just awesome always seeing the racing, how close it is. It's the top spec series in the world, and it's just it definitely came down close to the wire, I would say, but I think Palou always had that upper hand going into the last couple of races. But yeah, it'll make for another interesting battle next year. It's always difficult to see who to actually tell who will actually win the championship. So yeah, but at the moment, I would say it was good fun to watch. And obviously Plo went away with that, and yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, watching that season, it's sort of one of those fascinating things where, as you say, race weekend to race weekend, you'd have a different winner, you'd have a different car that just had the package. Maybe it's because of the bumps on the sort of Detroit street circuit. Maybe it's short ovals with Joseph Newgarden. I'd encourage those at home that are listening, they haven't checked out IndyCar, make an effort to watch it in 2024 and catch up on previous seasons. Obviously, the favorite of the show, Colton Herta, didn't have his best season last year, and the Andretti Global car, as it will be called next year, they've got something to prove. What would you put down? What would you put it down to? Colton's season. Obviously, I know you didn't watch every single race, every minute, but did you get a sense of the struggles that he was going through?
Yeah, I think it was a quite difficult year for Andretti as a whole. I would say the top driver of the year who actually really impressed me was Kyle Kirkwood. I think he get 2 wins I this year, and so yeah, he performed really well. He definitely outperformed Colton and Roman, but I think having the Andretti global name for next year, they definitely have something to prove. And with Michael trying to get into to F1, it's they definitely need to up their game just a little bit more.
I mean, it's an interesting one because when I saw, clearly you've got Penske at the very top and alongside Chip Ganassi Racing, and for some reason it took someone pointing out to me that those two are really the established top teams, and then your sort of McLarens and Andretti's are close, but the next level. I hadn't really appreciated that because I like Alexander Rossi. I listened to his podcast. He's obviously briefly in Formula One and won Indy 500. I saw his move from Andretti to McLaren as like a bit of a sideways move, but maybe maybe those two teams are going to, I don't know, displace Penske and Chip Ganassi Racing this season. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, and who knows?
Yeah, we don't. We also saw Miles Rowe win the Indy Pro 2000 sort of series. So for those that don't follow IndyCar, the kind of equivalent to F2, and I don't want to say equivalent in a technical way. I'd be told off by Denz or any other co-host, but essentially the one below IndyCar is called Indy NXT, and the one below that's called the Indy Pro 2000. And Miles Rowe won that. He was a guest on the show last season, and he's going up to Indy NXT. We've seen, I think, Lirim Zendelli jump back from the kind of European circuit, so sort of F3 into Indy Pro 2000 and did okay. Do you ever look at that sort of road to Indy, as it used to be called, and think, I could do that. It might be a bit cheaper. Maybe it's not cheaper, but have you considered it?
We definitely have, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily cheaper. You just around the country all the time. It's a massive place, so yeah. I think running in Europe compared to the US is a bit cheaper for a similar car to run. I think I believe that I could do it. That full stop. There's nothing really stopping me from doing that. Other than what direction do I want it to? And that's always been England or Europe. So, yeah.
I mean, I love your sort of allegiance. And obviously, you're not renouncing your US citizenship at all, but I love that. Maybe you have distant ancestors that come from these isles. Who knows? I'm sure you do. I guess a question then, switching to Formula One, is at time of recording, we've just finished the final Grand Prix of the season, and unprecedentedly, Max Verstappen won 19 races. I think the listeners know how I feel about that. But again, did you have a chance? I mean, maybe a lot of the races were happening at the same time as when you were doing GB4 this season. But did you get a chance to keep up with that? And do you have any reflections on the 2023 F1 season?
I definitely have. I've kept up with it. I think a bit more than any car, unfortunately. But that's obviously the you have a lot of races, and most of them don't conflict with race weekends, or you don't till midnight to watch IndyCar. So I would say, yeah, Max Verstappen had an absolutely dominant season. Well, Red Bull as a whole. I was actually surprised to see Mercedes get P2 in the constructors at the end in Abu Dhabi. That was something to watch. So yeah, but I always focus more on the midfield side of it. Obviously, you want to see a scrap for the win, but I've always liked the seeing who can scrap in the midfield in F1.
It's funny you should say that, because I was listening back to the episode you and I did last season 1, episode 74, and we had a game of taxi, dinner, avoid, and yeah, you decided to avoid Valtteri Bottas, and it was I'm exaggerating now, but you were sort of saying that perhaps he was a bit of a bit dull, I suppose. Who knows? Maybe go back and listen. Maybe that's a harsh assessment. But in the midfield, perhaps, do you have a sort of driver that you were rooting for this season that you wanted to, obviously not Valtteri Bottas, that you wanted to see come out on top?
Yeah, it was definitely Fernando Alonso for sure. He's always been a favorite of mine, ever since I started watching F1. And yeah, I mean, he's always, to be the age he is, to be doing the things he is doing, just a feat of its own. And yeah, it's unfortunate that Aston Martin didn't really perform in the last half of the season. But yeah, no, it was fun every time I was in Silverstone, and I would see Fernando get third or second on the way home. I would just honk my horn at the factory. So it was fun.
Yeah, I went to Silverstone for my birthday in September, and yeah, the Aston Martin factory is literally just as you're driving out. So yeah, you're quite close. So it is interesting. Like, Alonso put in some really good performances. There were a few moments where I want to say, was it Interlagos? He had that wheel-to-wheel battle with Checo Perez, where he was defending from Perez for maybe 10 laps or so, maybe a bit longer, and then obviously got overtaken by Perez, but took him back on the final lap. You're right; it's an incredible feat. Do you think that Aston Martin can give him a package next season that can see him have an equally successful season? He obviously finished P4 ahead of I think both Ferraris. Do you think he could repeat that?
I don't see why not. Aston just has to put a good package together, and obviously we'll see for the future in 2026. I don't think there's going to be an F1 for 2026, but with the new regulations in the next few years, it could definitely shape a lot of things around. But for next year, who knows? Anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a rumor at some point that Alonso had been linked with the Red Bull seat when Checo Perez's future looked in doubt. But it's one of those things, I'm obviously joking a little bit, but when you might start a rumor about yourself and then say, oh gosh, I hate all this speculation and these rumors. So, it would be a good seat for him to end up in, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Red Bull seat would ever favor him. Red Bull known to pick younger drivers to replace others. Obviously, you have Perez is the outlier. He's been racing since 2011, 2012. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, so actually talking about one of the younger drivers in Formula One, looking ahead at to 2024, I think, and I might be confused here because I thought mid-season Williams had confirmed this seat, but I heard that the only seat that's yet to be confirmed is that of Logan Sargent for 24. I might be getting that wrong. I don't know. But he scored his first points at Kota. There were a few cars that were obviously excluded, so he got his first points. I wonder, have you ever met Logan? And obviously, he had a tough year. But what do you do as a driver to try and take the pressure off yourself if you've had a couple of bad results?
Yeah, I've never really been in that scenario as per se. As Logan. Obviously, that's a completely different level of competition. Um, you know, I think he definitely started to improve at the end of the season. Obviously, it's will he get the seat or not? I don't know. I did hear some rumors that he was confirmed, but I never saw anything after that. But yeah, no, it's it's a difficult scenario to process as a driver at that type of level.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so it was Teo Porcher came away with the F2 championship. This could be the second or third year in a row, I suppose, if you count Piastri, that a Formula 2 champion hasn't been promoted directly into Formula 1 if he doesn't get the Williams seat, which looks unlikely as it stands. So, it's interesting. I guess it'd be interesting in your opinion on that flow of talent. What could be done to improve it if we're not seeing Formula 2 drivers progress from F2 into F1?
Yeah. I mean, usually, as you said, over the past 3 years, there hasn't been any driver that's gone directly to F1. I think, except for Joe Guan Yu. But yeah, no, I don't know, it's difficult because you could say the same with IndyCar. With people getting older, as you've seen with a lot of the drivers actually in IndyCar, they haven't left. A lot of young talent is still trying to get there, but there just hasn't been any seats. And in F1, it's kind of a similar story where it's just when do we drop someone for new talent? And no, I think it's very difficult to try and fix that. It's kind of just luck at that point. It's just seeing the stars have to align perfectly for that. I think it always has been that way. So
Yeah, I guess back in the day, this is sort of long predating your birth, Colin, but there were like many, many teams in Formula One to the extent that they had to do pre-qualifying to even have a chance to qualify. And I suppose even in 2010, they brought in 3 additional teams. None of them survived, but they were trying to increase the number of seats in Formula One. And it just showed how difficult it is if you're a new team to get in and make it financially viable and be competitive. So, yeah, it does sound like there are no quick fixes. But and you're right to point out IndyCar. It is interesting. Dixon continues for another year, etc. And congrats to him.
yeah, I would put him on the same level with Fernando. I think if you put him in an F1 car, he'd do just fine. So yeah, he's definitely one of the greats out there that just never had the opportunity to compete at the highest level.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued. Like they have the what is it called? Like is it the World Cup or what's it called? The Cup of Champions or Race of Champions, where they bring all of the nationalities together. It
Yep.
would just be interesting to see, the best IndyCar drivers in a similar vehicle or in a Formula One car, and just to see what happens. I'd be really intrigued with that.
Definitely. No, they I think they had that in the past. I think 10 years ago or something, but they need it back.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see how they could do, because it would settle a lot of arguments, polite arguments that we have. So before we get to the kind of final segment, just an invitation to those listening. If you've made it this far, don't forget to look us up on social media. We're at Strip the Dip on pretty much every platform you can imagine. Give us a comment. Tell us what you think. And for Denz's birthday in October, I got a custom-made Stripping the Dipping T-shirt for him, which he wore in the Andretti episode. So go and check that out. And who knows, in 2024 we might start doing that. So last time we spoke, Colin, you were, I think, in West Palm Beach in Florida, but we talked a little bit about your life in Northamptonshire and some of the oddities of I guess, being a guy from the US. You were doing homeschooling, but living in the UK. Could you tell us what your favorite non-motorsport moment or memory of 2023 has been so far?
It's actually a difficult one because obviously, you do a lot of things with all my social life is in England. Non-motorsport. Sorry.
Motorsport, so long as you're not in the car, I guess.
As long as I'm not in the car, okay. Man, I would say going to well, not just living in England. I was going to the Netherlands. Was definitely a cool experience. That was definitely one of them. Obviously, I went out for the GB3 race out in Zandvoort to support the team, but I spent a couple of days by myself just traveling the country, and it was absolutely incredible. The people were so nice. The culture's really cool, and great architecture. Just the whole 9 yards, really. That was definitely a takeaway moment from 2023.
Yeah, that wasn't. I don't think that was long ago, right? Was that in October that GB3 were in Zandvoort, or was there another round there?
Yeah, it was in October, I believe.
Yeah. Did you get to Amsterdam? Did you get to the capital? How was it?
Yeah. Well, spent a day or two in Amsterdam. It was a really cool city. A lot of cool shops. You could get anywhere really easily. It's really small. Obviously the train station's right there. And visited the. That was really cool. Spent a night out with some friends, and yeah, it was awesome. So it was definitely a highlight. Getting back to Europe, a true Europe since 2018. I just haven't had the time over the past 2 years. And I was like, okay, I have to go this year.
Oh, well, without speculating too much, maybe you'll be driving a bit more or visiting Europe a bit more with your day job in 2024. Who knows?
Maybe so.
Fantastic. So, two questions before we bring things to a close. So, first of all, do you have any sort of final messages that you want to leave the listeners with? And obviously, where can people find you on your socials?
Yeah, well, it's all on my Instagram and my my website at Colin Queen, ColinQueenRacing.com. Obviously, my Instagram is Colin111. And yeah, no, everything's really accessible everywhere. So
brilliant. Well, we'll definitely continue to follow you and wish you all the best. And I cannot wait till Thursday to hear your announcement and where you're going to go. The final question, which is the most important. Last time we discovered, that while you're perfect in almost every way, you admitted to the sin of liking pineapple on pizza. So I suppose the question this season is, have you seen the error of your ways and do you repent of your sins?
Well, yeah, I haven't. I made a mistake, I would say last. I did order this. That was it. I did not order again. So yeah, although it wasn't too bad, I would say it was much better having a pepperoni pizza instead.
That's what we wanted to hear. See, look, this is the thing, right? As people become more successful in life, and this is a message to Georgie and those in the team Pineapple, as people become more successful and more wise, or wiser, as we say in English, as they get older, they start to discover the era of pineapple on pizza. So, congratulations, Colin. I think it's just as you reach that level of maturity in life, you start to work it out. So, yeah, congrats.
No offense, Georgie. Don't worry.
It's okay. She'll hate me for it, but she'll still love you. It's fine. Brilliant. Okay. Well, look, Colin, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Do give Colin a follow, Colin Queen on Twitter and on Instagram. If his races are still on YouTube next season, ? Depending on what series he's in or whatever viewing platform you need to get. Seriously, give Colin a watch. He's someone we'll certainly be following here on the show, and I have every confidence, just as he does, and as you heard him say earlier, I have every confidence that whatever he chooses to do, he'll be a success. So Colin, best of luck next season. Really can't wait to see you in action.
No, I'm so stoked for it. Thank you for having me on again. Can't wait for the YouTube Live.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, you've just given our listeners a hint that early in the new season of Stripping the Dipping, Colin will be coming back and we'll be doing a YouTube Live. And you'll have the pleasure of meeting my co-host, I'm sure, AMG Dens, who is much more technical than me and can talk about cars in a way that I can, they go vroom and they go quickly. That's all I know. So there we are. Exactly. Step on the right pedal and it will go quickly. Keep it simple, right? Exactly. Yeah. So without further ado, thank you very much for listening. I've been your unusual co-host, F1 Blag. Really looking forward to bringing you the next set of episodes, which we'll do over Christmas and into the new year. But until next time, have a good evening and see you soon. Bye.